Welcome back. 2005 Buick Rendezvous, brought in, no brakes. Pedal goes right to the floor. Used the parking brake, kind of very slowly, kind of got it into the garage. Didn't take long to figure out what the problem was. There's a trail of fluid it left behind. There's virtually none in the system, but there was enough to do that. So we're gonna have to do our brake line, fixing part of our brake line on this, original lines. I'll show you where it is, and then we'll go through just repairing it, fixing it. So we're gonna look underneath here, driver's side, right by the driver's door, and there you can see I've got it apart already. That's a factory union there. I was able to get that apart without breaking anything, but the front line is what's leaking. You can see how rusted it is. I'm leaving the back line here, the back half alone, and we're gonna pull this down and find a spot in it. Try to find a spot without going too far that's where it's good and not all rusted. We'll see. And then we're gonna flare it, or put a new fitting, flare it, and fix that line. Well, hopefully you can see that's the brake line I have to replace. I'm gonna use Nycop. Just doesn't rust, and it's a lot easier to work with. I like it. I'm gonna bend that out, and then we'll come back. I'll flare. I'll show you one of the flares. I've already flared the line on the car on the one end that I had to cut, and then we'll put it all together. So I've got my new line bent, pretty much all there. I'm going to show you a flare on one end. Everything else is the same, and then we're going to go put it together. And I checked it; it's very close. So this one's pretty simple because there's not a lot of bends in it. It's not very long. First thing I want to do, this comes with the flaring tool, the kit. I want to stick that in there and just kind of put some pressure on it and kind of clean the inside out, make sure there's no burrs on the inside. And then I want to take a file and I want to bevel the outside on the end. And make sure we remove any burrs there as well. And then I take a piece of emery cloth and I'll just go to the end of it like that real quick. Make sure there's no burrs. This piece is going to go on here, so I always, if you have burrs on the inside, the piece from the die that goes in there from the flaring tool, it won't go in there very easily at all. So that's how I know I have no burrs. It just goes right in there. So what we want to do is, don't forget your fitting. Ask me how I know. Put your fitting on, get it down there. We're going to put the tool on here. We're going to set the tool depth wants to be, there's a shoulder. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a shoulder on this. And that depth wants to stick out the width of that shoulder. I leave it a little bit short of that. Just personal preference. I find that if it's right even with it, I don't like the flares that it makes. So I tend to leave that just a little short. We're going to tighten it up. Hopefully you can see this and it's not too dark. I've just got it snugged up. I'm going to adjust the depth on it. Come on. Yep, that's close, so let me just kind of snug these up. Get them close. Check my depth, which you probably can't see, but I'm going to check it against that shoulder. It's just about right where I want it, which is just a little short of that shoulder. It says put it even with it, but like I said, I find I just like it a little bit short, just the way I like it. You want to put it even with it, put it even with it. I'm going to tighten these up. I'm going to hold this, get it in a position where I can hold it. Tighten it up. All right. I like to put a little bit of lubricant. I just leave a little bit of silicone spray on it. That's what I use. Just a little bit on the end there. Not a lot. I find it helps, just makes it go better. Take my flaring tool. Get it on there. Just so it goes flush up against it. Hold it with one wrench. Turn it down with the other wrench. Another wrench. You'll feel it bottom out. Don't crush it. When it bottoms out, just stop. That just bottomed out. So back it off. The die, take the die out, and then put it back on. That's your first half of the double flare. Do the same thing. Turn it down. I said, you'll feel it now. It just bottomed out. Don't crush it. Just back it off. And there's your double flare. So, not very difficult. Once you do a few of them, you get the hang of it. You get better at them. Do the tool. Another thing I like to do when you find my Scotch-Brite, I like to take a little piece of Scotch-Brite and just run it over the edge of it so it doesn't have a sharp edge in case it does. Just real quick. I gotta find my Scotch-Brite, but I'll do that. And then I'll flare the other end and then we'll go put it on. Alright, I'm gonna try to film this and stay out of your way at the same time. I've got my two union fittings. Cannot use compression fittings. Don't use compression fittings on the brake lines. Just get that one started. Get my line here and see how well I did. Get it started here. Not tight, just start it up. Just get it started. Okay. Well, doesn't look too bad so far. We'll see. A little bit less of a bend there. Try to keep my head out of your way if I can. Come on. Gotta make sure I get this threaded on here right. Now I'm not liking it. Didn't get it started. Alright, got it started on both sides there. Started on both sides on this one. Actually looks pretty good. Not bad for a beginner. Alright, so now we're just going to tighten everything up and then we can tweak it a little bit. That's one of the nice things about Nycop is it's pretty soft. I don't really have to move this very much at all. There's a holder for it here that I'll put back in. But it really looks like it's pretty close actually. I'm just going to start tightening up. I want to have the right size here. I'll have every wrench, every size that I need except the right one. Way too big. What's that? 14. I don't think it's a 12. Oh, it is. There you go. 12 millimeter. That takes care of that one. Alright, so let's just start with this one. We're going to hold the union and turn the nuts. Don't twist the line up. That's why you're holding the union. One side now, small one on the other. It's going to be a 10. which I probably don't have down here. I should have a 10 here. Somewhere. Yeah, I do. I do. Let's hit a 10 here. Okay. I'll go to the other one now. We'll do the same thing. I can see this bottom one's got to go on a lot more, so we'll do that one first. Hopefully I got my head out of your way. Okay, that's it. Put this, find my plastic retainer here, which is here somewhere. I just don't know what I did with it. Let me find that, put that back on. No idea where I put it. It's here somewhere. There it is, right next to me. Yeah, I can adjust here as needed. That's all there is to this one. There's not much to this one. Very good. Back in the original holders. Now I'm going to go bleed this. Got to bleed all four wheels. Get all the air out of the system. Make sure I have no leaks. But that's pretty much it. Replacing a bad section of brake line that was rotted through. This piece will never rot. Can't say what'll happen with the rest of this, but it doesn't look too bad, actually. That piece right in here was pretty bad. Not very difficult in this case. A lot easier on this one because where I had to get to is pretty open. It's tough when you're in a spot where you really can't get at it. That makes it a lot harder, but this one, pretty easy.